I never thought much about the day I saved her, at least not for the first 10 years after it happened. It was supposed to be a small, desperate act on a nameless world halfway between two dying suns. I was a soldier then, a wandering mercenary trying to survive after the great colonial collapse. Her people called her Ilera. I just called her the girl with silver eyes. Back then, she was terrified, frail, and covered in ash when I found her hiding behind the broken hull of a crashed shuttle. I remember the smell of ozone, the hiss of plasma fire, and the way she looked up at me, like I was something impossible. Maybe I was. No human had stepped foot on her world before, and I hadn't planned to. My ship had crashed during a bounty run gone bad. I stumbled into her village after days of wandering through radioactive fog, looking for shelter. Instead, I found a massacre. She was the only one left alive. Part 1: The Rescue. Ilera couldn't have been more than 15. Her skin shimmered faintly under the violet light of her planet's dying sun. She spoke in a broken version of Galactic Common, enough for me to understand that soldiers from another system had come for her people's rare mineral, beryllium. The raiders had destroyed everything when they couldn't find what they wanted. I didn't plan to get involved. I was injured, hungry, and my oxygen filters were nearly spent. But when she grabbed my hand and whispered, "Please, don't leave me," something in me broke. We spent 3 days traveling through the wastelands together. I scavenged what I could. Rations, batteries, a half-working comm unit. She was quiet most of the time, though she'd hum softly when she thought I wasn't listening, a strange melody that made the air feel alive. She told me she was from the line of Velra, though she didn't explain what that meant. She also said she couldn't leave her planet. Something sacred bound her to it. Still, when I managed to repair my shuttle's distress beacon, she insisted I go without her. Course I didn't. I got us both off that cursed rock. I used the last of my energy cells to power the hyperdrive for one jump, to the edge of the neutral zone. I dropped her off on an abandoned station, gave her half my credits, and told her to find someone she could trust. Before I left, she said, "When we meet again, stars will bow to you." I thought it was just a poetic farewell. I never saw her again, or so I thought. Part 2: The Return to the Stars. 15 years passed. The galaxy moved on. I retired from mercenary work and took up hauling freight for the Terran Federation. Life became a string of cold jumps, cargo transfers, and empty spaceports. The war that had torn the colonies apart was over, though the scars remained. Then one day I got a message from the Federation's diplomatic corps. It was a contract, special assignment, high pay, confidential transport. The details were vague, only that I'd be escorting an ambassador to the new capital of the Lissari Dominion. I'd never heard of them. A new empire, they said, formed from a coalition of systems out past the rim. I didn't ask questions. Credits were credits. When I arrived at the designated spaceport, the ambassador was already waiting. She stepped out from a sleek silver vessel surrounded by guards in white armor, and for a long moment I couldn't breathe. It was her. Older, regal, dressed in flowing metallic robes that shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes, those same silver eyes, met mine across the hangar. The guards bowed their heads as she approached, and I realized she wasn't an ambassador. She was the queen. "Ilera," I whispered. She smiled. "You remembered." Part 3: The Queen's Request. The trip took a week through subspace corridors. I wasn't supposed to speak unless spoken to. Royal protocol, apparently. But she broke that rule almost immediately. "You never told me your real name," she said one night as we floated between systems, watching the twin spirals of a binary star through the viewport. "It's Kale," I told her. "Kale Wren." "Kale," she repeated softly, like she was trying it on her tongue. You saved me once. Do you regret it? Not once, I said. She looked away, and for a moment the queen disappeared. I saw the frightened girl again, the one I'd carried across a dead world. I'm glad, she whispered. Because I need you to save me again. She told me her kingdom was crumbling. The Lysari Dominion had risen fast, uniting dozens of scattered systems under her rule, but power had attracted enemies, human and alien alike. A rebellion was spreading across her border worlds, funded by the same raiders who had once burned her home. Someone was selling them beryllium, her people's sacred mineral. She suspected the traitor was within her own court, and she wanted me to help her find out who. Why me? Asked. Because you're the only human I trust, she said. And because you don't owe anyone your loyalty, not even me. Part 4. The Court of Silver Suns. The capital world of the Lysari Dominion was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Vast floating citadels drifted above oceans that glowed like molten glass. The skies were threaded with silver rings, massive orbital elevators connecting cities in the clouds. The air shimmered with energy. When Ilara stepped out of the shuttle, crowds lined the landing platforms, chanting her name. Ilaravelra, the Starborn Queen. I stayed a few steps behind, wearing a borrowed uniform, pretending I belonged. But even as the ceremony unfolded, I could sense tension in the air. Her council members, tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin, watched me like a contaminant. One of them, Lord Severin, gave me a smile sharp enough to cut metal. That night, Ilara summoned me to her private quarters. The room was enormous. Walls of crystal, a view of the gas giant below. She poured me a drink herself, which I took as both an honor and a warning. I need you to attend the council tomorrow, she said. They'll ask about the raids. I want you to listen, nothing more. I'll handle the politics. And if I find something, tell me, she said. Quietly. Her voice trembled just barely. Ilara, I said. Are you sure you can trust any of them? I can't, she admitted. That's why I called you. Part 5. The Betrayal. The next day, the council convened in the Hall of Suns, a chamber of light suspended between two floating spires. They spoke in riddles and veiled threats, debating trade routes and security measures while I stood silent beside the Queen's dais. But then I noticed something. Lord Severin kept glancing at a small device on his wrist, hiding it under his sleeve. It pulsed faintly every time Ilara mentioned beryllium. After the meeting, I followed him through the palace corridors, keeping to the shadows. He led me to a restricted hangar filled with cargo crates, marked with the Dominion's royal seal. But the scanners revealed something else. Inside the crates was raw beryllium ore, the same kind used in energy weapons. I barely had time to record the evidence before I heard footsteps. Severin appeared behind me, flanked by two guards. You shouldn't be here, human, he said. Neither should you, I replied, drawing my sidearm. He laughed. You think she'll believe you. You're nothing but a relic from her past. A convenient ghost. Before I could answer, the guards opened fire. I dove behind the crates, returned 2 quick shots, and the hangar exploded in chaos. When the smoke cleared, Severin was gone, but I had what I needed. The recording, proof of his betrayal. Part 6, The Storm. I rushed to the Queen's chambers, but she wasn't there. The palace alarms blared, a full lockdown. The sky outside had turned red with plasma fire. Rebel ships were descending on the capital. Through the chaos, I found her on the command deck, clad in battle armor that gleamed like starlight. You found him, she said when she saw my face. He's the traitor, I said, handing her the data chip. He's feeding the rebels our positions. She clenched her fists. Then it's already begun. Explosions rocked the citadel. The rebels had breached the outer shields. I grabbed her arm. We need to get you out of here. Her eyes flashed. No. I won't abandon my people again. Then at least let me buy you time. Kale. But I was already gone. Part 7, The Last Stand. The corridors burned with plasma fire. I led a squad of loyal guards toward the hangar, cutting through waves of insurgents. For every one we dropped, 2 more appeared. The Dominion's elite soldiers fought fiercely, but we were outnumbered. I sealed the lower decks and rerouted the shield power manually. Sparks rained down, lighting my armor. Somewhere above, I heard the Queen's voice echo through the intercom. This is your sovereign. Hold the line. We did. 4 hours we held. When I finally reached the upper chamber, Severin was there, standing beside the throne. He had a plasma blade in one hand, and the Queen cornered against the crystal wall. You were always too sentimental, Ilara, he sneered. You could have ruled the stars, but you chose compassion. That's your weakness. Fired. The bolt caught him in the shoulder. He turned, snarling. Still alive, human. Barely, I said, raising my weapon. He lunged. The blade cut through my side, searing flesh, but I tackled him off the dais. We crashed through a wall of light and fell into the lower chamber. His weapon clattered away. He struck me again and again, his voice echoing through my helmet. You think she'll remember you after this? You're just a story she tells herself. Maybe, I gasped, grabbing a shard of crystal and driving it into his chest. But it's a good one. He collapsed, and the light in his eyes went out. Part 8. The Aftermath. When I woke, I was in the medbay. My side was bandaged, my armor gone. The war was over. Ilara stood beside me, her crown dimmed, her robes torn. You're alive, she whispered. Disappointed. Croaked. Never. She smiled through tears. The rebellion is crushed. Severin's network is destroyed. But the cost. Outside the viewport, I saw the wreckage of the capital floating in orbit, entire spires reduced to dust. I'm sorry, I said. She shook her head. You gave us a chance to rebuild. That's more than I ever had. I tried to sit up. You'll need help. Someone to watch your back. I already have someone, she said softly. You. I stared at her. I'm no knight, Ilara. No, she said, reaching out to take my hand. You're something rarer. You're my friend. Part 9. The Farewell. Months passed. The Dominion began to heal. Reconstruction ships filled the skies. The Queen was more than a ruler now. She was a symbol, a beacon of unity. Every race in the sector pledged allegiance to her. And yet, I knew I didn't belong there. I'd never been built for thrones or ceremonies. My place was among the stars. On the day I left, she met me at the spaceport alone. You could stay, she said. I'd only get in the way. She smiled sadly. You always say that. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized how much she'd changed. Not the frightened girl from the wasteland, but a woman who carried the weight of 1,000 worlds. Will I ever see you again? Yes. Her silver eyes met mine. When the stars bow again. I didn't understand then. But as I launched into orbit and watched her planet fade into the black, I knew she wasn't saying goodbye. She was promising something. Part 10. The Queen Among the Stars. Years later, I was running cargo through the outer rim when my ship's sensors picked up a broadcast. A holographic message projected across half the sector. It was her. The Lissari Dominion extends its hand to all worlds, she said, her voice calm, powerful. We seek not conquest but kinship. The age of isolation is over. Behind her, fleets of silver ships spread like wings across the void. She had done it. United the Rim, ended the wars, forged peace from ashes. And though I knew she couldn't see me, I found myself standing and saluting the image on the screen. Because once, long ago, I had saved an alien girl. And now she had saved the galaxy. Epilogue. I still keep the locket she gave me before I left. A small piece of beryllium crystal that hums faintly when I hold it. Sometimes when the stars outside my cockpit flare just right, it glows with a soft silver light. I tell myself it's just the ship sensors, just radiation interference. But part of me wonders if she's out there, thinking of me too. Maybe one day I'll find her again. Not as a soldier, not as a savior, just as Kale. Until then I'll keep flying. Because somewhere beyond the rim, a queen once said the stars would bow to me. And sometimes when I look out at the endless sea of light, I think they already do.